What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Thomas, and today we're going to be talking about VWAP and how to trade the VWAP indicator and why I think it's a really good indicator to get familiar with. Even if you're someone who doesn't want to get too technical, don't worry, this is not a very complicated indicator, and it's fairly straightforward to use. So we're just going to get right into it. So what is VWAP? It pretty much stands for Volume Weighted Average Price, VWAP. That's what it is, okay? And so what we can see here by Investopedia's example, we can kind of see this line right here as the VWAP line, the volume weighted average price. And essentially, as a stock trades throughout the day, this is always slightly changing. However, over time, it gets harder to change unless you see a surge in volume. Why would that be the case? Because if we dive a little bit deeper, here's the actual formula for those who want to get into this. It's the sum of the price times the volume over the sum of the volume. Now you can use the VWAP on plenty of different time frames, and we're going to go over a time frame here in this video, but you can feel free to use it however you would like and see what works best for you in terms of what type of chart that you like to follow. For some people who like to day trade, they want to follow the 1 day, 1 minute chart. Maybe you like to look at the 5 day, 5 minute. Sometimes you want to look at the 1 hour chart. So there's all different time frames that you can look at this on, and we're going to dive into a couple time frames here in this video and show you how this works. Now before we dive in, a couple quick things to ask. If you guys wouldn't mind making sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel down below. That is all we ask of you here. This is going to be very quick and to the point. The platform we're about to be using here is Webull. So here we are on my Webull desktop platform. There's always a link in the pinned comment in the description box. If you want to check it out, sign up. You don't have to deposit if you don't want to, but if you do deposit, you're going to get 2 free stocks up to $1,850 if you deposit $100 into your account. So I use the platform every single day. They've recently been working a lot to improve it, and so here we go. We're looking at SPY, but we don't want to look at SPY. We want to look at a couple different stocks here today because most people are not going to be trading the S&P. Now, what I will say is that you can use this for whatever you want, but at the same time, understand that this indicator, from my experience, has been very useful in momentum trades. In day trades, if you're someone who's momentum trading, which means you're trading pretty quickly, you're trying to get in, you're trying to get out, you're playing bounces, you're playing, breakouts, you're playing a quick range. This is a really helpful indicator, especially for those day traders, momentum traders, like I said. So today we had a stock XELA. This stock ran up quite a bit, and now we're going to be showing you how to day trade this stock using VWAP as your guide. Now, number one thing I also want to point out is that trading is an art. It's not an exact science. So just because the VWAP indicator is there doesn't mean a stock is going to respect it. And when I say respect it, what does that mean? So let's start diving right on in on how to do this. So really quick, if you don't know how to get this set up on your charting feature on Webull, which I have a video going over how to create a customized layout if you're interested, it's already on the channel. In the top left of the chart, there's an indicators tab, and then it's going to come up with a bunch of indicators that are common indicators. You can click on VWAP right there, but if you don't have it or the settings are different than what you want, you can actually go into edit indicators and come in here, click on VWAP and change the color and change a couple things if you would like so that it's showing up on your chart the way you want to see it. With that said, we're using VWAP 14, which for most brokers, when you click on VWAP, this is what you're going to see, so we're going to use. So let's start diving right on in. So what we see is this stock gets news in the pre-market hours, and we can zoom in to show you guys how this stuff works. The stock gets news in the pre-market hours, and so through that calculation, the VWAP was calculated to end up being up around this 267, 268-ish area, right up around here. See this white line? I like to use a white line for VWAP for me. That's just what works for me. You can change to whatever color you want to use. And so we have, the VWAP comes in right there. Then the stock dips down below, and because a lot of the buying pressure came in right away, we see some of these larger volume candles, right? They were up to these wicks were up towards 275, 290 were some of the highs that we saw in the pre-market hours. So a lot of the weight towards that VWAP calculation was actually pretty heavy, which brought the VWAP up pretty high. Then the stock pulls back a little bit, and it pulls back on lighter volume, and we kind of see the stock trading below the VWAP for the day. So here's the biggest piece to understand when it comes to VWAP. We use it as a guide, and what does that guide help us with? Support and resistance. When you're below the VWAP can act as a resistance, and when you're above the VWAP, it's going to act as support. Now, of course, trading's an art, not an exact science, right? So not every time, but it can be a really good guide. And so if you're looking for trade ideas, many times the break over VWAP on a stock, for example, like XELA today, that was trading under VWAP. How do we know it was trading under VWAP? Okay, so it pushes up. This first push, VWAP doesn't concern me in the first few minutes of a stock that spikes up on news. The stock pulls back. It comes up, it tests the VWAP. This wick right here goes up to 255. VWAP was sitting just to the north of that 255. So that's showing me, hey, it's resistance right now. The stock can't get above. It's rejecting that level. The stock comes back down, puts in a new low, starts downtrending, then kind of reverses back to the upside to a degree. Then here we get a wick above VWAP, but it's a wick. So again, it didn't break above. The break to the upside, we'll show you what that means. A break or a trend reversal you want to see a candle getting above and then the next candle holding over, which means it opens and then closes above the VWAP, okay? And I just recently did a video on Candlesticks 101, so if you want to go back a few videos or go back on the channel and check out Candlesticks 101, there's even a playlist for it, I believe, to understand what these candlesticks mean, to help you understand what this wick means and things like that. That'll be really helpful, but essentially the stock comes up here briefly and then pulls back. That's all you need to know, so it got rejected again by the VWAP. And I like to think of it as an area. Don't necessarily think of it as an, oh my gosh, like it must hold this specific point, this line. It's an area. So think, okay, a couple cents above, a couple cents below, depending on a stock, it could be maybe, 20, 30 cents above or below. If it's a stock, it's a higher price stock. On lower price stocks, I look at a couple cents and I say, okay, if it goes above or below, I'll leave that as like no trend change until I see confirmation of a pattern change where the stock then opens and closes the next minute or the next candle above or below that line. So what happens the rest of the day, we start progressing through the pre-market hours, it does it yet again. It taps the VWAP and gets rejected. So we're seeing clearly that VWAP is acting as resistance for the stock. Then here in the pre-market hours, we can see just before the open, a few minutes before the open, the stock busts above VWAP. And this time, what do we see? It closes above VWAP right here. The next candle opens above VWAP and it actually pushes up and then it holds above. We can see that even throughout the rest of the pre-market by this lighter shading, we can see that these candles are now holding above VWAP. Yeah, we had a slight wick down a few cents below, but for the most part, the bodies of the candles are holding above VWAP. Now the market opens. It's 9:30 a.m. Eastern. The market opens and we see, okay, now the stock is open. We see more volatility. You see a lot more volume than you did in the pre-market. So this is where I don't really take into account VWAP as much until about 5 minutes or so after the market opens, which puts us right around this point. We get to about 9:35, 9:40 a.m. The stock starts to uptrend and it's now holding above VWAP. How do we know that? Well, because look at this, 9:43 a.m. we came down to VWAP and held that as support. So we bounced off that VWAP and pushed up. If we start to zoom out, the stock was very, very healthy. So now what we see is that we saw the trend change here at the end of the pre-market hours going into the regular hours of the market. The stock was getting rejected by the VWAP. Now VWAP is becoming the new support. So we see the stock progressing throughout the day. We see it uptrending, uptrending, uptrending. Now here at this point, it's not even coming close to VWAP. It's just kind of on a tear to the upside. The momentum is really, really there. And then it starts to slow down. So then we start getting towards the midday period. So we start looking at the time frame here. And by 10, 11 a.m., the stock starts to pull back. Now here, VWAP didn't hold, but the rough area pretty much did. So why do I say that? Well, because we kind of came below VWAP and we held below for about 5 to 10 minutes. But then we quickly reclaim VWAP here on XELA and push back to the upside. And then we can look through the rest of the day and pretty much we held up well throughout the rest of the early afternoon hours. Then eventually XELA holding VWAP pretty well, pushes up to 550 and then held it, and then again touches it right here, bounce off VWAP yet again at about 410 and then pushes up and into the close. We get a different pattern kind of into the close and the stock pushes up in the after hours holding VWAP still. So this stock could be a stock that gaps up even tomorrow when I'm filming this video. So broadening things out so we can see. Now, when you broaden things out, when you take a step back, this is why I love to do this and understand that, hey, trading is an art, it's not an exact science, because even though, right, this VWAP indicator is a great, we're showing signs of support, it's a great indicator, even though that's the case, there were still instances here where the stock did drop decently below VWAP. For example, right here, it dropped from, VWAP was sitting up around 374. It dropped down to about 357 at the low. So understand that, hey, it's not necessarily an end-all be-all, but it's a really good guide. So if you're looking to buy dips and you're not looking to chase a stock that's already running up, it's a really good spot to say, hey, I want to buy a calculated dip on this stock. I think the news was really good this morning. I like the stock. The momentum's there. The volume is really, really strong. It's the number one gainer on the day. Many times the number one gainer has the most volume. The market's been pretty good lately. I have faith that this stock will continue to the upside. I want to buy a dip. I don't want to chase a stock that's already getting, run up. So you don't want to be buying the stock up here, or you don't want to be buying the stock, as it's running on up and it's overextended. You want to be buying the stock as it pulls back to VWAP. Even if you get a dip below VWAP, that could be a really good dip buy. And then if we see a downtrend confirm, if the stock then tests VWAP and it can't reclaim, well, then that's your indicator to get out. So for example, right here, here's an idea for this trade. Maybe I'm in this trade, I'm starting to buy the stock down towards VWAP right here. So I'm buying it at like 375. I start buying it. I see it dipping down. I'm like, okay, it's dipping down below. I might give it, a couple cent stop loss, and I might cut myself out of that trade. I might take a couple cent stop loss. I'm out. Then I'm still watching the trade. If it reclaims VWAP, I'll get back in. Then a couple minutes later, it reclaims VWAP right back in here, and I'll get back in. And then I would have been able to ride the stock up from 375 up towards $4. That could have been a nice 25-cent profit. Whereas, okay, right here, if I'm buying the dip towards VWAP and I stop myself out for like a 10-cent loss or a 5-cent loss, okay, cool, a 5-cent loss here, but I'm able to make that back up on the reclaim of VWAP as it showed that it reclaimed that support. Now, another thing to note is that if you were to buy this dip down here, saying, okay, it's holding up around this 365 area, I'm going to buy this dip. That is a good area to be potentially buying, and then saying, hey, if we make a new low, if the stock starts dropping down below like 357, 358, that's my cue to get out. We start seeing a downtrend, or the stock comes up to VWAP and it tests the VWAP and it gets rejected and it can't break above. That's your indicator to get out of that trade, because now the VWAP is now resistance on that stock. So that's a really kind of a cool way to go about it, saying, hey, you know what? If we can reclaim and develop support, that's great. I'll stay in or I'll get in the trade. And if we can't, I will get out of this trade as the stock looks to be downtrending and the momentum may be fading out. So hopefully this video helps. Now, again, this is not the only example. There are other examples out there. For example, EARS, E-A-R-S, is a stock that got some momentum today, pushed up over VWAP, but it was pretty choppy. We couldn't really develop much of a trend around VWAP. We had some consolidation, but it really, after the first hour or so of the market open, it was really difficult to develop a trend here. And we can kind of see that the stock sold off throughout much of the day, then pushed up towards the end, but got rejected by VWAP, and pretty much the volume faded out by some of these candles. Now we can kind of see that the volume has died out and there really isn't much there. So not every stock is going to respect it, but it's a really good indicator to give you a guide to kind of help you out when it comes to support and when it comes to resistance. So hopefully this video made some sense. If you got something out of it, please leave a like on the video down below. Check out my technical analysis playlist and that candlestick playlist if you have not already. They should be a really good help to help you understand support, resistance, how the candles work, the different types of candles you can use, because there is a lot that kind of paints the picture when you kind of bring it all together and get a better understanding. Obviously, the more time you put in, the better you're going to have an understanding of how this stuff works, and the easier you're going to start to see things like support, like resistance, like the VWAP, and things like that. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to grab those 2 free stocks down below. Link in the pinned comment and description box for Webull. Any other links and resources linked in the description box down below. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.